Welcome to a pedal out video. Today we're doing a for sale video for the car you see behind me. So with the help of this selfie stick and a small GoPro, we'll hopefully give you a tour and take you through this car. This is a 1998 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 convertible. It's probably one of the first, and as you can see it has silver paintwork and blue fabric roof. I think the colour, they call it Metropole blue, also matches the interior. We'll have a look at that in a second. This one has slightly refurbished alloy wheels, not slightly, they have been well refurbished. Proper powder coating has gone on and they look kind of glossy. Happened before I picked it up, so they're a nice black colour, which goes really well with the silver. You can see the condition generally of the bodywork is really good for a car of this age. Just point out it's got the clear lenses at the front, which are in really good order. A lot of them you see of this age quite cloudy and a bit milky. It's also got the headlamp washers there as well, and on the back you can see it's also got the clear lenses there as well. Let's take a look inside. So to unlock the car you use this button on the remote. You can hear it unlock. Crack it open in traditional convertible style. The window drops down slightly so you can open the door. Obviously being a 911 there are no frames around the window, they're obviously frameless, and as you can see from the inside you've got the sports Metropole blue leather seats, the sports steering wheel, and the nice kind of later model, let's put it in neutral, gear lever. Car has 80,503 miles on it. It may rise a little bit, but it's got 80,000 on, which considering it's 1998 is extremely low. Okay, let's get the door closed and start it up. Okay, so there we go. Make sure it's in neutral, which it is. Put the key in the ignition. It's recently had, let's wait, the radio might kick in. Let's just turn that off. Turn that down. So it has got an Aftermarket Pioneer double DIN head unit in there. It previously had a CD changer in the front boot. That is no longer in there, so all your music is through here. It does have an old-fashioned adapter for the old iPhone, which I haven't tried using because I don't have an old iPhone, but if you did you could use it, possibly put an adapter on it and use it with a new iPhone even. We just mainly use the radio on it. It does have a CD player in there as well. It's touchscreen, it's okay as a model. It's the AVIC-D3 model, if that means anything to you. Ignition switch on 996s and Boxsters, early Boxsters in general, can be a bit temperamental. They can get a bit funny when you kind of turn in the key. This one's been replaced, which makes, well, a massive difference. It's like new basically, so you put your key in and you turn it. Okay, so we haven't started this car up for a day or two, I don't think. So it's recently had a new battery, so you should just hear it hopefully fire into life. Sometimes the starter can make a bit of a groany noise, but let's give it a go. There you go, hear that kind of. So it starts up fine. Let it idle for a bit, warm up, and then we'll give it a rev. So what else have we got in here? You've got the buttons obviously for the roof, traction control on and off, heated rear screen for when the hardtop is on. This car does come with the full silver hardtop. Watch one of my other videos to see how to remove that. Usual dials and gauges. It hasn't got the kind of trip computer that you can often get in 996s and Boxsters, but what it has got is cruise control, washer wiper. You can change the speed of the intermittent washer wiper, indicators, the usual kind of affair, and a 6-speed manual gearbox. You've got your 4 window buttons here, 2 for the little rear triangle windows and 2 for the front ones. Hazard button and ventilation. Some of the fins in one of the in this ventilation anyway on the driver's side have kind of come a bit loose, and also point of note is the convertible roof. Although it works perfectly and the roof goes up and down and it's all electronic, there is a the light remains on basically, and the rear bit that's supposed to come down when the roof is down does come down, but it doesn't quite go all the way down, so there's possible micro switch that needs to be sorted out at some point, but it actually doesn't detract from the car or the roof. It all works perfectly fine. Let's have a quick look while we're talking at the engine and also at the front boot, shall we? Right, let's give the car a rev before we look at the boot. That's good. So hopefully you can still hear me. The boot levers are here, and they are levers, not the push buttons which were on the later models. So we'll just release the front boot and the rear engine cover, and we'll go and have a look at those. So around the front of the car then, typical with any 911, most of them anyway, I think it's changed on the new ones. There's a little lever there, you pop that open, you've got your spare wheel in there, and also your toolkit, your battery's also under there, washer fluid, and I think possibly brake fluid or power steering fluid, brake fluid in there as well. It's illuminated. It has the option code list in there. That is also in any kind of standard Porsche model. You get that in the book that you get when you first buy it. All the option codes are on there. You can have a look at that. They're on the advert, and you can look them up online on some option code finder. If you just Google it, you'll see that. Boot space on these is amazing. Considering the engines at the back, you do still get a pretty good boot space. The kids have both sat in here. We haven't shut them in, but they can fit in there. Obviously don't drive with them in it, but weekends, shopping, weekends away, baggage, that kind of thing, it will all go in. So the engine's running round to the back now. It's recently had a new coolant header tank, so there's a new bit of plastic in there. It's been regularly serviced. You can see all the stamps in the book, and the engine really just looks like new. Underneath the car is dry as a bone. Okay, I've come around to the passenger seat for this next bit. The engine's still running, so you might be able to hear that. I'm just going to operate the roof from the inside, so you can actually see the convertible roof drop all the way back. If you watch again my other video on how to remove the hardtop, you actually see the convertible roof on this car working as it's designed, going up and down accordingly from lots of different angles, but let's just give it a go. So finger on the open button, you'll see the windows slide down, the little lever or the latch up there you go, comes down, and the roof, as you can see, starts to retract there, and you watch the flap come forward. There you go. Okay, so obviously popping the roof back up is the opposite, so you just put the finger on the other part of the button, press and hold, hopefully you can see. There we go, it's popping back up, and will be slightly more dark than it was before. Because of that micro switch, it does mean you have to pop the windows up yourself, so the little 4 windows, you need to pop them up yourself, but that's dead easy. Put the two rear ones up first, and then the front ones, they're one touch, up they go. Perfect. The car obviously runs on unleaded. It's not a diesel, thank goodness. Early Porsches, proper Porsches generally aren't. 6-speed manual gearbox, all the gear changes are absolutely fine. The clutch is quite heavy, always is in kind of older, slightly high miles Porsches, albeit it operates perfectly well. So it can be a little bit creaky, quite heavy. Changes gear brilliantly though. There's no slippage in the clutch, there's no play in the gearbox, it's nice and springy, it does what it's supposed to do. Not much travel in the handbrake, that's nice and tight as well, that comes on. You've also got a button for the spoiler down in the driver's footwell, so you can manually raise and lower the spoiler for cleaning, that's quite handy. Brakes, it's had pads I think all around, possibly just on the front, just before I got it in November last year. Discs kind of okay. They do the job. At some point they probably will need replacing, but they're absolutely fine now. You can get aftermarket discs and pads for 996s for next to nothing, dare I say it. They're really cheap, almost kind of VW Golf prices. Having said all that, the car stops perfectly well. The ABS kicks in. There's no strange clunks, rattles or groans from the brakes at all. When you're out on the road and driving, we'll give it a spin out in a minute and see what it's like, and you can have a look at my other videos where it's you can see it on the road from all sorts of different angles. There is a bit of clunk, I suppose you could call it, but it's not massively noticeable. It is quite a firm ride, naturally being a 911, but I just thought it's worth pointing that out. It's usually after the car's warmed up a bit. I think the bushes, maybe a little bit of movement in them. It has been all checked out. It passed the MOT with flying colours, the last one, so there isn't officially kind of any play in there, but again, just being totally upfront about it, putting it out there. Before we get on with the drive, what else is worth saying in here? Electric mirrors, worth pointing out. Some visor has the little vanity mirrors with the illuminated mirrors. That's on the driver and the passenger side, and you've got the little spotlights there. Back seats, don't think you've got a huge amount of facilities in the back seats apart from a speaker and a seatbelt. Well, what more do you need? The fact that this car has back seats in the first place is a bonus, really. We do have and have had our small kids in the back, and they fit okay. It's a 911 at the end of the day. Google image search for 911 rear seats and kid seats, and you'll see all the pictures and know how much room there is in there, if that's what you want to use this car for. Right, let's carry on and take you for a drive, and I'll just give you a bit of a rundown on a drive round. Cheers. Okay, engine's warmed up now. It's been idling for a while. We've got good engine oil pressure, a little bit of fuel, quarter of a tank. Engine temperature, or the temperature dial in general, is slap bang in the middle. It idles brilliantly where it's supposed to, probably around 600 RPM, there or thereabouts. Battery voltage is all absolutely fine. All the dials, etc., all read out fine. So it's up and over, or over and up rather, for reverse. This drives on a hill, so you may be able to hear the brakes. There we go. Let's just take it for a little drive. So I mentioned before, gear change is all fine. There we go, straight into second. Brakes are all fine. Usual Porsche 911/Boxster driving position, probably a bit close at the moment. And the seat is really versatile and very adjustable. Mentioned before, it's also the sports version, so they look a bit kind of wider. They've got the bigger wings. And the sun is really bright today. Let's go left into first. So there we go. Hopefully you can hear the engine. Tyres have got decent tread. The ones on the front are a brand name. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what they are. The tread is pretty even all around the tyres, and there's loads of life left in them. When I bought the car, it was from a dealer. It needed new tyres at the back to get it through its MOT. So the dealer put a set of new tyres on it, and dealers being dealers, put probably what was the cheapest set of tyres he could find on it. So I'm just being honest about that. If you know anything about Porsches, you'll know that generally speaking you need the N-rated tyre, and if you look on tyre company websites for tyres, generally that will come back. You'll see the N-rated tyre. Obviously on the back, let's go over a speed bump, on the back of this they're not there. Other points of note, there is only one key. I think I may have mentioned that at the start, which may bother you, may not, but there's only one key. There is in the fabric roof, I don't know what happened. I bought the car like it. This was an emotional purchase. If you want to know the background and context as to why I bought this car in the first place, watch my other video. This wasn't a car I necessarily wanted, lusted after, or desired, although in the reasonably short time we've had it, nearly a year, have really enjoyed it. But yeah, watch the other videos. This car was in my family before. It belonged to a relative, my father, and it came off for sale, and I bought it for that reason. More of an emotional purchase more than anything, which is good, and it served its purpose. Don't really need it anymore. It's a third car, so it's time for it to go. But what I was saying about the roof, annoyingly, it wasn't like this when my dad had it, but in the roof it looks like there's been a small tear. I wouldn't like to say how that happened or what caused it, but there is a small tear in there. So I'm just making you aware. It's been repaired, it's been stitched up, and arguably you could say it's been stitched up not particularly well. However, having said that, this car, we had it all over the winter this year. We had the hardtop on for a bit of that winter, but for a lot of the winter we didn't. When it was a nice day, and even in the winter, we did have the roof down, and when we had the roof up, it rained, of course. And I'm delighted to say the convertible roof, even where the nick is, did not leak whatsoever. This car remained bone dry, which I thought was pretty good. Just worthy of note. Okay, there we go. Sure what that was. Little short drive. There we go. We've gone through all the gears. We started off in reverse, up into third now. A little short drive around the block. You can see the car down into second, performing as it's meant to. I'll pop it in neutral and just rev the engine. You might be able to hear it. Okay, I'm not going to wheel spin away because I don't do that kind of thing anymore, and we're on an estate. But you get the gist. It's a proper Porsche flat 6 3.4 litre engine. It's been very well looked after. I'm no doubt people are going to ask about IMS, bearing and all the rest of it. I don't have any information on it. What I can tell you is these early models were less susceptible to it from the research that I've done, and this car is tight as anything. The engine looks 2 years old rather than nearly 20 years old, and like I say, underneath of this car it's pretty tip-top condition. So there are a few little things, I suppose, that to bring it back to its kind of past former glory, it needs doing on it. But at the end of the day, what you have is an MOT'd, well looked after, serviced Porsche. People complain about how I say it. 911 for less than £10,000. So there's not much more I can say, really. It's an absolute bargain. It's a steal. I'll be sad to see it go, but I don't need it anymore. There's a few other jobs we need doing on the house. It's somebody else's opportunity. So click the link in the video below to go to the adverts for where we've put this car up for sale. Get in touch with us if you want to come have a look around it, get a bit close and personal with it, take it for a test drive out with me if you like, and we see if we can't do a deal. All right, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's always going to be other car videos popping along, and you can look back and see the ones from before as well. Cheers, see you again.